Be careful. You might learn something.
Let's go.
You are now tuned in to the Factual Opinions Podcast with your hosts. I am Pharaoh. Straight facts.
What's up, world? This is Factual Opinions Podcast, Season 5, Episode 12, with your humble and gracious host. I am Pharaoh, checking in with the Brown, Bruce Wayne, Big John.
Yes, sir.
Will West, the best Nate.
You know it.
And this is Season 5, Episode 12. We're calling it PTSD. Because everybody I know is going through something, or as the great Chris Carter would say, every good man I know been through something. So
Right.
I really feel that right now. So that's why I called it PTSD, and this is our therapy right here. So there's a lot to talk about, especially in the sports world, which you know we cover, and that's our primary topic here on this platform. But I do want to give a shout out to my brother Charles Lawrence, who is still grieving over the weekend. We laid to rest, or I say, our dear friend Joanna, his wife, was laid to rest. It was one of the tougher things that I've had to do in quite some time, and a reminder of why I don't go to funerals, but I had to be there because they are family. So Charles, I want to send my love to you, the boys, Travis, Trayvon, Taj. I want to send love to Joanna's side of the family too, Mr. Nessa and everybody. It's never going to be the same, but we're going to keep trudging on as she would want us to do. So now that we touched on that, I want to get into a few different things that we weren't able to speak on the past few episodes. I guess we'll start with football, even though the NBA Finals is in full swing, because I kept to my pledge. I have not watched a full game yet, only bits and pieces and highlights. I'm not interested in Indiana versus OKC, just like the majority of the planet.
Good series, though, man.
It's been a good series, man.
Well, Tyrese Halliburton is hurt now. I do know that. You always hate to see a series decided by an injury. Well, he's limping around pretty good right now. So I know he's gutting it through once the game time is out there. He said, as long as I can walk, I'll be out there. But before we get into that, there were a few developments in the NFL off-season meetings. Was anybody aware that they actually had on the table trying to ban the tush push? Did y'all see that?
Yeah, that's been like that all off-season. Because some of them are upset because they can't stop it.
That was one of the
they
first
trying to
things
make
voted
injuries. Yeah, they trying to get it out of the game because they said you can. Which the crazy part about it is the rule has been in the rule book for years. They just don't enforce it. Like, you're not allowed to aid the runner. That is a rule, but they don't enforce it. Which they should.
That's been scaled back though, because it's not like it used to be. It used to be a flat out penalty, but like you said, there's technicalities, on it now. At the end of the day, if you don't go out and get you a big ass nose guard like Keith Traylor, the Goose, Vince Wilfork, Gilbert Brown, somebody to put in the middle, Casey Hampton, that's all it is. It's the teams that can't stop it getting upset.
Right. And
so I'm glad it failed banning it by 2 votes. So if 2 more teams had voted yes on it, it would have been banned.
But the crazy thing about it is a lot of the coaches mostly all the coaches are football guys, but a lot of coaches that played at the collegiate level at least voted to keep it. Like Dan Campbell was one of the coaches that voted to keep it for the Lions.
Of course, he was going to be one that.
But yeah, it's stupid, and they doing it because they feel like it gives certain teams an advantage. It does, especially for the Eagles, because your quarterback squats 600 pounds. You have probably the best offensive line in the NFL. So yes, it's going to help you. Mm-hmm. If my quarterback was squatting 600 pounds, I'd do it too.
This is a regular football play, though.
It definitely is.
I mean, now it dates back to the 1800s. It's more that single T rugby style game. But again, I have great feelings of disdain for somebody trying to simply ban something because you can't stop it.
Like you said, get you a Sam Adams, get you a Gilbert Brown, get you a Flozell Adams or a Hendrickson, you wouldn't have that problem.
Oh. The Honorable G Money has joined the show. Will Johnson himself, aka Schroeder Jaguars varsity basketball head coach.
What's going on, fellas? What's going on?
I see you got your sweet James Jones hat on.
Right, this is a dad hat, right?
You got your Pep C hat on.
All you missed so far, brother Will, is we, obviously acknowledge and want to keep brother Charles and the boys, in our prayers, as well as Joanna's side of the family, and all of us that were attached to them. But we were talking about football out of the gate. We'll double back to basketball. We didn't talk last episode about how the tush push almost got banned by 2 votes. It survived, and I just think that is so cowardly and just punkish in today's time, that because you can't stop something, they actually put this on the table to try to vote it out of football.
Can we just
I
call
didn't know
it
if you had an
quarterback
opinion on
sneak and
that.
not call it the tush push? Can we call it the quarterback sneak, please?
Says the guy that called Randy Johnson by his nickname.
That's his actual nickname. I'm just saying, like, they trying to make it, freaky.
Wow. I just remember what his nickname was. You crazy.
I didn't pause. I didn't give it to him. So that has nothing
Pause.
to do with it. That's why I said that from the beginning.
Nah, you gotta have a double pause. You called him by his nickname.
That's
And then you said you ain't give it to him.
That's a little out of hand, my boy.
Wow, John.
Hey, he tripping, bro.
See, that's what
He a fan.
That's why you can't invite certain niggas to dinner. They always act up. I said pause before I said anything.
I'm sorry.
Starting to cut up. But yeah, so we were talking about that, and naturally we're going to transition to your beloved Cincinnati Bengals, who are merged in quite the controversial contract negotiations with 2 Bengals defensive players. Well, one, we can't call him a Bengals player yet because he hasn't joined.
What's up, J. Lee?
None of that. Oh, I need to tag my boy. I forgot. Tony. And Brother Roderick was asking about today's episode.
Tony Berry?
Yeah, I just tagged
it.
So let's get straight to it. And I'm gonna start with Brother Johnson, super fan. Trey Hendrickson, there's been news in the past 48 hours that the Bengals have resumed talks with him. I highly doubt at this point that the crux of the issue is $2 million. He wants $30 million a year. The reports that Bengals have offered up to $28 million a year. I think we're still hitting a snag point because of the length of the contract, and as usual with our beloved Bengals, the guarantee part. Now, on Trey Hendrickson, they do have a little bit of wiggle room, I think, because they're like, number one, he's under contract already. Number two, by him turning 31 years old, just from a business standpoint, you do have to be careful about the length of this next contract and the guarantees. What are your opinions on the Trey Hendrickson holdout, Brother Will?
I mean, I understand it on both ends, right? Like, Trey has proven that he's a top 5 defensive end in the NFL. So, in our reality, he wants to be paid like one, which I get. But the Bengals obliged and gave him a contract extension last year. So, they're like, we just gave you one, this, that, and the other. So we're going to just play hardball real quick. I think a contract will get done. I think they understand. The issue now is that it's easy for the media now to continue to breed that false narrative about the Bengals don't pay players, and it just looks that way when in our reality that's never been the case with any of the top players that play for the Bengals. They always got a contract extension if they want it. So I think Trey contract will get done right before training camp starts, and he'll be ready to go.
My Madisonville brethren says it's the years he wants. Well, I mean, we know that, and this is the catch-22 in this scenario because the Bengals aren't wrong, as Brother Will just said. Trey's not wrong in leading the league in sacks and wanting to get paid for that. We are entering in the territory where, at this point, because of the extension that he did sign a couple years back, and like I said, with his current age, where the Bengals are looking at it like, yeah, we want to reward you for what you've done, but we also have to pay you according to what you can still do for us. It's a little bit different when you have guys like Chase or T that are still in their prime and 25, 26 years old. Yeah, you can kind of project and reward them for what they've done because they're still going to produce for you going forward. Trey, there are questions beyond this year. He's been getting beat up because he doesn't have anybody on the other side of him relieving that pressure. So that's a good segue into our next topic I wanted to speak to about Shamar Stewart. What's up, brother Chris?
We're good.
So I want to highlight Big John on this one because John identified this from the start. We were all out of his crib, me, him, and Nate watching, the first round of the draft. And I'm very careful, as I've mentioned before, about judging guys' reactions on draft night because guys do have different personalities. You never know what's going through their heads. Some people may have thought they were going to get drafted by somebody else while they're still excited to be drafted, or they thought maybe they would get drafted higher, or just like I said, they just react differently in that moment because it can be overwhelming and life-changing for guys. But John said it. From the jump. He just looked like he did not want to be drafted by the Cincinnati Bengals. Yeah. And I'm pretty keen on body language too, and that's kind of what I walked away with, but I was trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. His actions leading up to all of this haven't done anything to prove that theory wrong. Again, I will throw in this bone. Shamar Stewart is not asking for anything wrong. The stance that he's taking as far as not signing that and not being lured into a contract that could potentially void his guarantees going forward and injury clause protections and everything like that, that's not wrong. Now, the way he's going about it, dead wrong.
Yeah, for sure.
Stepping through the door, blasting your prospective employer like you Carl Pickens, is wrong. And it was one thing if he had to step to the mic and just continue to talk about his situation, but him also speaking on Trey Hendrickson's, situation. It's like, bro, you had 5 sacks in 3 years at Texas.
Yeah, that's bad, and that's not even. We was talking about that night. It's our potential. It's our potential.
You coming in the door talking big-ish, like you the second coming of Bruce Smith or Reggie White out here. Like get the contract done, get on the field first. I mean, because you're iffy as far as how your college career panned out. Big John, and I'll let y'all go. Big John mentioned that whole Texas A&M recruiting class that he came in with that was supposed to be top tier is the reason why Jimbo Fisher doesn't have a job right now. They all underachieved.
For sure.
So while I understand what he's holding out for, and like he said, don't make me the new precedent. I want the same guarantees that Amarius Mims and Dax Hill and Miles Murphy got.
And the crazy part about it is, I agree with everything you said because I already said it. It's other teams that have that language in their contracts. Like the Giants have signed some of their rookies to a similar contract where that language happens. But I get where Stewart is coming from. Don't make me the first guy for the Bengals to do it. You can do it for somebody else. Don't make me the first guy. But like you said, your production and doesn't add up.
Let's be honest. He was mediocre coming out of
your
draft.
production.
He wasn't even predicted to be first round, John.
Mediocre will be more than 5 sacks in 3 years, but he was okay. your production doesn't add up to you throwing your weight around the way you are. Now, I get it. You're not asking for something amazing. You're just asking for what you know. You're just asking to have your your guarantee solidified. We get it, but how you going about it is wrong.
I agree with Brother Justin. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's crazy work. Did you see that one Chris put?
Chris said, I believe Shamar Stewart lost his leverage when A spoke out of turn, B, the 16 and 18 pick signed the same contract. Is it true his dad is his agent? No, his dad is not his agent. His dad has just been willing to speak on this more publicly than probably even he should be at this point. His agent is actually a young guy who's younger than all of us. Like, I think he is 30 exactly. And I'm not going to sit here and even make a big deal about that. I just know that there's been reports that he kind of walks to the beat of his own drum and he's not as experienced as some other agents. And again, I don't think that he's even wrong in the advice that he's giving Stewart as far as not signing the contract, but how publicly they're running their mouth and how they're going about it and throwing the organization under the bus before you've even taken one snap. That is wrong, and that's not going about it the right way.
And don't get me wrong. Everybody says this about the Bengals organization. We don't do this, we don't do this, we don't do that. I understand that. You can speak your piece, but you were just drafted by this organization. You can speak your piece, but you were just drafted by them. So this is your current employer, which we don't know. You might not be even an employee of the Bengals no more at this point. So,
he said they care more about winning arguments than they do football game. I mean, he's talking some big stuff now for a guy that hasn't taken a snap.
The Bengals ain't. But my bad, John. But the Bengals ain't even said nothing. Like they ain't said anything about this contract, so I don't know where to put that they want to win arguments. Just seems like you just receiving bad press. I mean, not bad press. You're receiving bad information, and you're going off of a feeling and a reaction. Almost like when you're trying to get somebody to break up with you. Just start just mumbling and saying stuff to try to get them to walk away. Yeah, trying to get them to walk away.
And this is my opinion. I agree with everything everybody is saying. I think because it's production or what happened to him in college, I think the Bengals signed him so they could lowball him. I feel like if they drafted the D tackle from Ole Miss, they don't do that to him.
He gets paid.
I don't think they do that to him.
I think it's clear that they wanted Walter Nolan, who got one pick ahead of them.
If they draft a boy from Tennessee, they don't give him this paperwork. I just feel like because his production didn't add up, we taking a shot at him for potential and measurements and stuff that don't make sense. I mean, it makes sense to play your position, but
there were some scouts that said stay away, at least in the first round, because of the lack of production. But you can get caught up in the measures, and you know what I call the combine, the underwear Olympics. It's really easy for guys at their peak athletic career to look good running around in Under Armour.
Yeah, but and I made a joke about it, but they're comparing him because he's the same size as Myles Garrett, but Myles Garrett had 40 sacks in 2 years.
Yeah,
big difference.
That difference in comparison pissed me off, but
like in two and a half years, the man had 40 sacks.
Is it possible, like Brother Will said, though, that he's intentionally, as we said, running his mouth at this point because maybe he doesn't want to be here? Now, it would be unprecedented, but could the Bengals walk away?
It happened once. It's happened once.
But
years ago.
But they've been playing NFL football since 1932, though. So they have till August. I forgot the date in August, but they have till August if they want to trade Shamar Stewart's draft rights. After that, they can't trade him his entire rookie year, whether he signs or not. He could sit out ultimately and re-enter the 2026 NFL draft.
Yeah. He may not get picked up.
Well, that's what I was going to say, because you remember years ago, Bo Jackson did this, and I had talked to Brother Chris about this too, because he made a post about it. Bo Jackson set out rather than go to the creamsicle Tampa Bay Buccaneers, #1 overall.
That's Bo Jackson.
But wait, here's where I'm going with it. even this Bo Jackson, who went on to play professional baseball, so it's not like he just sat around and did nothing the
Yeah,
next year.
that's the
He
difference.
was a 6th or 7th round pick the next year by the Raiders. That makes me think that Shamar Stewart wouldn't even get drafted if he re-entered
Yeah, I do
the
too.
draft.
And you just sat out a full year, and you a big guy, so that don't mean this weight
He about to go play.
staying off of you.
He about to go
So,
play the UFL with the
yep,
Rock.
Yeah,
that's where
like
that's what it's looking like.
it ain't that. I mean, it's the low production in college. Then it almost seems like, and I don't like using this, but it almost seems like you're a problem coming in the door. Like that's gonna push your draft stock back, and you may not get drafted. Now the good thing about that is you'll be able to get the opportunity to go to the team you quote unquote want to go to if they want you. So I think that at the end of the day, you got drafted, you get an opportunity, come in here, play for 4 or 5 years, and if you want to leave after that, big dog. But right now, I
This
just
ain't the
I just
time.
feel like you didn't want to get drafted, and you trying to make it a real big issue. And at the end of the day, it's gonna do more harm than good to you for you in the long run. So
So
Yep.
that's my thing, like walking around the building at this point. Like you've said some pretty poignant and direct things and criticisms, about the organization itself. And essentially you can read through the lines. You're talking about the front office, you're talking about your bosses, the Brown family. So I'm just wondering what that dynamic is gonna be like. Like we've seen other contract negotiations get pretty nasty. Like it almost seemed like Lamar Jackson was never gonna be back in Baltimore, and then, things got
He got it.
done. But
Yep.
again, there was still a history prior
Mm-hmm.
to that. He had relationships in the building. This guy, to my knowledge, has none of this walking through the door, and it's going to alienate some people. I know behind the scenes, he said that some players have said, "Man, you doing the right thing." Let me tell you something. I saw Joe Burrow's face when they asked him, "Was this a distraction?" Joe don't want to deal with this. Joe don't
No,
want to answer these questions. Joe
at
knows
all.
how important it is for them to get off to a better start than they have the past, 3 seasons. And again, this is stuff that bleeds over.
Mm-hmm.
They actually need the young man, to be honest,
To
and
fill
they
the void
and
here.
they need him to come in and be productive. But this is not how you start doing that, because even though he was there for most of it, he wasn't participating. You
Nope, he
can
wasn't.
you can have that thumb drive. You can look at tablets and laptops. It's not the same as actually being out there. Then he
Hold on,
leaves.
Al. But I'm gonna do something real quick. Just want to give my little brother, Lil Gooch, a shout out. He had a successful event on Saturday with the Madisonville Day.
Bro, change
Shout
his
out to little
name.
bro.
Change his name. Give him
I can't do nothing about that.
call him Lil G or something. Change his name, bro.
I'll call it
hey,
Daymere. Shout out to Daymere. He had a successful event on Saturday. When I tell you, Bramble Park was packed, bro. And he had the news down there telling them
I saw
positive
Snake Eyes
things.
on there.
Yeah, so it was a
Brother
great
Tate
event.
was on there. Brewski said, "Right, I get his point, but speaking to the media and talking about the organization ain't a good look when you haven't done anything yet. It's really
Nothing.
not."
You've not done anything. That's what really
and
bothers me.
and
That's what bothers me the most. I'm
and
sorry.
as a player, and as a player, and probably as a coaching staff and front office, all of those things, I'm gonna be like, if we do get it signed, I'm gonna be questioning how dedicated you gonna be to giving us your
Yeah,
all. Like
Yeah,
you're on a team that's really Super Bowl or bust. Anything less than a Super Bowl is a failed season for the Bengals.
for sure.
And you need, especially on that defensive end, you need everybody to be locked in, everybody to be given 110% in order for them to be successful. And right now, I'd be questioning, like, if this is your like, I could see one thing if you was holding now and you ain't saying nothing, but you being this vocal, being this anti organization, I will really be, and you ain't did nothing, so it ain't even like you done build up a cachet with the team
Hmm.
to be like, well, we know when he gets signed, he gonna do his thing, like,
But
and
they
then the
don't
other
even know
rookies in
anything
there,
about him. They don't know what he gonna do.
But then when you
You
and
as
make
a
they all
coach,
probably
Will.
looking
You as
like
a coach, Will. Would you add him with after all this? That's gonna be the question. Would you add him after all this?
he a first round draft pick. I got to, I got to,
okay,
I got to,
but
I got to take a chance to see what he does.
I'm saying this jokingly, but I kind of mean it. But when you make comments like they care more about winning arguments than winning football games, you think your 4 sacks gonna put them over the top?
That's a good argument.
Listen, I'm with you. I'm with you.
Unless those 4 sacks come in the AFC Championship, my guy, I don't think that's gonna put
Yeah, I don't think that's
That's number one. But my thing is, you said that, and again, who are you talking about when you say you're not talking about Zach Taylor? You're not talking
Nobody
about
said
Al
anything.
Golden.
Nobody said anything.
But but you're talking to the two people, Katie,
Who cut your
Mr.
check?
Brown,
Who cut
who
your
you gonna
check?
have to sign that contract with in front of them in that top office anyway, if we even get to that point. So I guess you're just assuming they're gonna let bygones be bygones, and they probably will be professional, but we're still human beings. So don't tell me that's not gonna change the dynamic, and at least especially initially, unless you come in and become Javon Curse, you know, there's gonna be people looking at you with a side eye from the beginning. And I just think it creates a toxic work environment.
Yeah,
I'm a little bit different. I
I
know
agree.
Will's like, it's a first round draft pick. And I agree with that to a certain extent, but then that's when my inner Al Davis comes out where I'm like, you know what? I care more about getting it right than I do consistent or going through conventional means. And if
I,
that means I've identified somebody that I don't think is a good, fit for my locker room at this point, or there's already been too much that went, you know what? I would entertain trading his draft
yeah,
rights.
I agree with Jay Lee. Jay Lee just said something. He just said he too cocky and too entitled.
What
I
Mike
agree with
Singletary
that.
say? Can't play with him. Can't do it.
Can't
Hey,
win with them.
listen. I had reservations when he walked up there with the green suit. I said, yeah, it might be over, bro.
Yeah. Your name ain't Don Juan and you got that color
Yeah,
green on.
man. You had
You
the
gotta go
green
sit down,
suit.
bro.
The
Brother
green
Chris
suit
said
kind
he
of.
won the combine. Physical freak for sure. Biggest knock is he doesn't finish plays at this point. Be quiet, let it play out. I mean,
I
well,
agree.
he's already done away with that though by
Ain't no
running his
choice at this
mouth.
point.
So um yeah, when he made that comment about, well, I got to the quarterback in college, I just didn't finish. And I always keep quoting that Charles Barkley. The operation was a success, but the patient died. That
Be
does nothing for me. Hurries count. And presumably if you have a Trey Hendrickson on the other side who might finish that play, but that's a big if right now in both
Big
both
if.
instances.
Big if.
just because you work out good don't mean you're a good football player, big dog.
I
Mm.
will be shocked if Trey doesn't have a contract. Like, I would be flabbergasted if Trey doesn't have a contract by by training camp. Because
Yeah.
that's just in our reality. And I don't like playing into the media, this, that, another. But that would be bad. That would be bad if Trey ain't got a contract.
But you know what? It's already bad, brother Will, and
I don't think so.
I have to agree with RG3 though. When he made that comment, when he said all the goodwill and changing the public narratives that yes are a little bit overhyped, but are what they are. That they did with signing Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, and Jamar Chase has just been undone in their handling of the Trey Hendrickson and Shamar Stewart
I
contracts.
disagree.
Now I believe there's a little validity to that.
Why?
I disagree, but that's
Because
because
look at how they're being tore up nationally in the media, who, like you said, are feeding right back on. It's like none of that took place.
But at the same time, though, there has always been false narratives just based that's centered around because the Bengals haven't won a haven't won on a consistent basis.
Other
So
teams,
you gotta find a reason why. Like, that is the biggest misconception in the NFL, is that the Bengals don't pay their players.
it
Now the
is because they've
franchise has
always
been
taken
cheap.
care of their stars.
Yeah,
It was the second guy that we were always worried about. Like, are they going to pay Hushmanzada? Are they going to pay Marvin Jones? In this instance, were they going to keep T. Higgins? They did it, but and I'm gonna let you go again. But the thing is, there are other teams who play around with contract language, but they're not the Bengals. They don't have that narrative out there already, which at one point was true. It is overhyped now, but my question was, are they doing this because they spent that money? Are they looking for ways to recoup money at this point or not be on the hook? You have to ask that question.
Yes, I said that, but yeah.
All right, so my question is: then Houston Mazzata got a second contract. He didn't get
He
a
got a
third one.
second one.
He didn't get a
Okay,
third.
there's a lot of people don't get third. Marvin Jones had the same. The Bengals and the Lions gave him the same contract. He wanted to be a number 2 more so than a number 3. So that's why he left, which I get and I understand.
Yep.
I get and I understand. You wanted a more productive role. You got to go and do what you got to do. So that's what I'm saying. Like, it's just a lot of false narratives just out there about the Bengals and these situations. Even when you do something as amazing as sign T and Shamar, when they signed them, all the media was shocked, and it seemed like they was mad that they got it done because you couldn't use that narrative about the Bengals no more.
Yeah, they
Now
did
with
seem
this trade,
upset.
but like this is no different than a lot of major, like, put like this. Not RG3. Lamar Jackson went through this. The 2-time MVP went through this. This isn't uncommon. It's just something that just happened. And Trey just got an extension last season. Like, it ain't like they haven't recognized and realized that he's a vital part of the organization. He signed a contract. They gave him an extension. Then he balled out last year. And then if I'm the Bengals, I'm going to play a little hardball too. Because, like, yeah, those 17 and a half sacks was amazing, but we still was the worst defense.
Yeah. That means he was the only one productive on defense.
The only reason I agree with them, playing a little hardball with Trey, is because of what even Shamar Stewart mentioned. He tried to say, I'm 100% right. He's like, Trey is probably 99% right, but 1% wrong because he's still under contract. Well, even though it's a different sport, the great owner of the Chicago Bulls, Jerry Reinsdorf, was famous for that also. Like, when I give you an extension, don't come back in this office, the next season for a contract that you just signed.
Yes, Lord. I agree.
Trey's done that the past 2 off seasons. One in a new deal. And again, I'm not saying that he hasn't upped his, production. Hell, he's been a Pro Bowler every year that he's been here with the Bengals. So it's not as if he hasn't produced. But like I said, why did you sign that contract 2 years ago if it's that undervalued at this point? And the salary cap did go up, so we have to be honest, about that. It did go up, but he's trying to play hardball too, and it gets to a point where a business decision has to be made. Now, I'm with Will. I think ultimately, hopefully before training camp starts, I believe Trey Hendrickson will have a contract. They need to get this out of the way. But if he gets what he wants, there's going to be a nice chunk of the salary cap that all revolves around 4 players for that organization. And it's going to be kind of hard to fill out the rest of the roster.
Yep.
You can't sign them all, like, unless you're the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't know how they do it, but at the end of the day,
Brother Tony in the house, he said T. Higgins' deal got done literally because of T. He now has one of the worst contracts in football. He's here because he wanted to be here, not because of Bengals value. He took literally $7 million less in guarantees than he would have got.
Man, if T. Higgins was on the Patriots and he took that deal, he would have not had the same. He would have not had that same sentiments.
He would have
Tony,
been
no, he
nothing.
wouldn't have. He would have been like, "Look, they want to play with Brady. It's the Patriot way." So
that's why.
Although it is some little validity to that coming from him. It's just a little,
Well, brother Tony has consistently been on the T. Higgins hater contract bandwagon. I told him again what it boiled down to was there was no scenario where the Bengals were a better football team without T. Higgins. Just period, point blank. So it had to be done from an organization standpoint. I don't have an issue with it. I really don't. They weren't a better football team without him.
I just don't like those sentiments Because I mean, Shannon Sharp was somebody who was saying the same thing, and it's like nobody else has a problem when somebody else takes a team-friendly deal. When somebody else takes a team-friendly deal, nobody complains, nobody says anything negative. They say, "Look, he's being a team player."
Uncle Shannon's full of shit anyway, and I'll get into that. But go ahead, Big John.
What Will said is correct. Devontae Smith, who can be a number one anywhere else, Super Bowl championship, Devontae Smith, took a hometown discount to stay with the Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
He can go anywhere to certain teams and be a number one and be their best receiver, maybe their best player. And he took a pay cut so he can stay and play with the Eagles. So, yes.
Patrick Mahomes took a team-friendly. Tom Brady did it his whole career, took team-friendly discounts in order to fill out the roster and make it better so he could prioritize winning the Super Bowl. Jalen Brunson did it in the NBA, and it almost got him to the NBA final. So,
what's wrong with
go and get your money.
What's wrong with T. Higgins wanting to be here? Because to me, that's the crux of the issue for a lot of people. Also, like Uncle Shannon, is because he was the main one from the beginning. It's like, I don't see how they're gonna get it done. I don't see how they're gonna get it done. And when they got it done, like RG3 said, all that was going to happen for Bengals people who have that hater mentality and muscle memory when it comes to Bengals, all they were going to do was move the goalpost back, so to speak. Now it's, you spent too much money on T. How you going to feel the rest of the roster? If they didn't sign him, you were going to call them the Cincinnati Bengals again and talk about, them not spending the money. So again, I was even talking, some years ago after we made that Super Bowl run to a Cowboys fan who, was getting kind of upset because, people like to egg them on and poke the bear when it comes to Cowboys. But I was telling him, I said, man, it's different with y'all because y'all have cachet historically in the Super Bowls. I said, even if we win one, I guarantee it's not going to be giving the Bengals credit. The next day, the narrative is going to be, I bet you they don't run it back. I bet you that's the only Super Bowl they ever win in franchise history. Like, there's always going to be some type of rebuttal that's out there for the Cincinnati Bengals. Just period, point blank.
Facts. And it be in situations and spaces where it's not warranted. So,
Trey should get between 27 and 30 mil, 2 years max. He's not Miles or Max. I said from the beginning what I would have offered Trey, and maybe some people think this is a low ball, but I'd have gave him the Justin Fields contract. Honestly, I would have gave him 2 years, $40 million, and that's what we got for you. I think that's fair. It's better than the 15 or 16 million a year that he's making, now. And lengthwise, like I said, you have to be cognizant of that with this next deal with Trey. You can look at the numbers of guys that pull in double-digit sacks once they get over that 31, 32, year old. And it's not that long of a list.
Perfect example would be your boy in Buffalo.
Josh Allen?
No. Defensive end, man. I'm having a brain fart.
Von Miller.
Von Miller is a Hall of Famer, Super Bowl champion, production every year he's played, but he's breaking down like a Chevy now. And he can't do nothing about it.
Well, and they just signed another aging pass rusher, and my boy from Joey Bosa, who
they did.
I don't have the stat in front of me right now, but it's mind-boggling the amount of games that he's played the past 3 years. Like, it's not very many. It's not a whole season. I don't think he's played 16 games the past few years. So there's validity to it. And you have to weigh that. I know Bengals fans just want them to just toss the bag at him. It's really not that simple. It's not. Now it's going to become that simple, like Will said, as we get closer to training camp and they realize that they don't have Shamar Stewart on the other side. Miles Murphy. Again, I don't like singling players out on here, so I'll just say Miles Murphy and move on. They need help, man, because other than that, the tackle, what is it, Slayton?
Yeah.
They got from the Packers would be the only addition that they added to the defense. without
Can
him.
I ask you? Y'all think Let me ask you this: Do you think we should have signed Alexander off of free agency from Green Bay, the corner?
Yeah, I mean, he still got production in him.
Do I think we should have?
And the
Yeah.
secondary is trash, so he would definitely help.
Is the money there to do that?
I don't know. That's the question. That's the
Probably
question.
not.
I don't know.
Because if we talk about Jair Alexander, is still probably one of the top, I would say, 10 corners in the league. And he's going to demand that salary-wise.
Yeah, he wants some money.
That one, I'm sure the Bengals don't have enough money to pull off of.
Nope.
He's had a lot of injuries over the past couple of
I'm about to say
years.
he's been hurt a lot.
I thought I don't know. I don't want to put. I thought I read that he's not the best locker room guy. So I don't know. And call me
You
a
think
fool.
that's bad, brother Tony?
Outside of Taylor Britt, secondary wasn't too bad at the end of the season last year. Secondary wasn't that bad.
It
got
wasn't,
hurt.
brother Will.
Just got hurt, really.
Well, brother Tony, we know he wants longer than 2 years, but I'm saying as a GM, and I'm looking at by the end of that contract, if I gave him even a 2-year deal, he's going to be 34 years old. You really think he's going to be getting 17 sacks at 34 years old?
No.
So he can want more than 2 years, all he wants. What Cedric say on Barbershop, he can pack and stand his out there all he wants. Yeah, Chris said we don't want another Trey Wayne situation. Boy, that man did absolutely nothing for us and got paid even in that 1 year.
Got a lot of money.
Now, I will say it's an issue though. Like we're gonna have to have a huge year from DJ Turner and Dax Hill, those two Wolverines out there. Got brother Kurt in the house.
I like Newton towards the end of the year.
Yeah, he didn't do bad. He didn't do bad. You're right,
Trey, 2 year, $56 million with 42 guaranteed. He said no. If that's true, I don't blame the Bengals for playing hardball. Fam, you had 17 sacks and 7.5 of them came in 2 games. Well,
yeah, but I quoted Ice Cube from All About the Benjamins. That's what he's thinking. Like it or not, I'm the best one you got. So what you gonna do? So he has leverage. Our defense was horrible. I led the league in sacks. I am the only bright spot on the defense.
But again, even with that, that's why maybe I was more willing to start over than some other people. Because even with that said, you were the bright spot on the defense. But what did the defense accomplish? What was the defense ranked even with you out there? So there are certain guys that I'm not putting Trey necessarily in this category, but there are certain guys that get stats, but I don't know that they make the overall defense better.
Well,
you got to think about it. I mean, he's doing his part, but there are other pieces that are needed on that defense is what I'm alluding to.
Right. I get it.
I don't know.
Well, you know what? The defense got to be better because they got rid of Pratt. They got rid of Pratt. They got rid of Pratt, so the defense is gonna be better.
Yeah, I know. I was the happiest man alive when they got rid of Pratt. I know
Al
hate me saying it, but I was.
Eggs Big John. I've been dissing Pratt for some years, boy.
No, I remember one of your statuses. This
I will never forget.
What did we say? Like, what is? He said, "What does Pratt do well?"
Pratt was a problem, but it was more so that Wilson wasn't out there, man. It was more so that he wasn't.
Man, you got a lot of coping with him, John. Man, you must know him.
I will say.
I'm not saying
Playoff P made one of the most iconic plays in franchise history.
That's it.
When you're missing your defensive.
What do you mean? That's it.
Wilson.
That's it, bro.
That was
like I said.
Yeah, that ended the 31-year playoff winless drought. Yeah, that's
Right,
it
and he's cost
exactly.
us games as well. He's cost us more games than that one play.
Timeout. Hold on. Timeout. That play is a little hype, bro.
It was, bruh.
Ball came right to him.
It's not height because you still have to make the play.
He was standing there.
You're right. It was 4th down, so even if he would have dropped it,
The game was over.
getting the
The
ball.
game was over.
But you know
I'm
what?
glad he
That's a
was
lot.
there.
You know what? That's a lot of hate.
Because I don't remember the defender that was behind. What was that? Zay Jones or whoever the receiver was. He was definitely behind him.
Listen, that was hate. He made the play. And outside of knocking the ball out of Travis Kelce hands in a regular season game, I don't remember the last big play that he made. He was just in the way and
That was an
running
accident,
around
bro.
complaining. And
What's the last big play that Dak Field made?
I don't know.
What's the last big play that DJ Turner made?
DJ Turner was making some plays before he got hurt. Now, don't do that. Don't do that. DJ Turner was playing well before he got hurt. That secondary was getting the big problem in the secondary was number 29.
That's because he's not a CB1. He's not the guy.
You're right, but he needs to stop talking and acting like it.
Yeah, he needs to stop acting like that.
And I love him to death.
And get him some help.
Hey, listen, I love him to death, but Mike Hilton was burnt toast last year, boy.
Mike Hilton is another Bengal that made a lot of iconic plays here.
He did.
And he probably has seen, the best of, his career at this point. That's why I don't think the Bengals will be resigning him. But you're right. Mike was not the same player last year, but he was a hell of a signing back in 2021.
For sure. And on another note, the Bengals defense ain't been live since we had my boy, but that's for a different day.
Talking about that man in Atlanta?
Man,
no.
Nah, he talking about that dude from
that bum that went to the Dolphins. That's
brother Eli Apple. The defense ain't been good since they got him.
I said that bum that went to the Dolphins.
No, say Z.
He's still down there?
That's another man that made one of the most iconic plays in franchise history. The open tackle on Tyreek Hill at the end of the first half in the AFC Championship game. It stopped it from getting out of hand, but they don't remember that.
Yeah, because if you hit him with a sluggo, he gon' fall for it. But outside of that, Eli was solid. I still got the stats of his last season with the Bengals and what he held people to. I still got the stats.
You still got his stats sitting at your house?
Facts. Right in my phone. I was looking at it yesterday.
I can simplify it more than that, but people call me biased when I do it. But I mean, it is what it is. But okay,
But no, all in all, though, I think they'll get Trey signed. Shamar Stewart. I think at the end of the day, big dog, you just gotta, sign that contract, go out there and prove that you was not a overhyped first round pick.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't want him part of my locker room right now. I really don't. But we all know how this is gonna work out. He's a first round draft pick. That would be a tremendous blow to not get him signed and or to have to admit that you made a mistake already through the gate. So they're not gonna do that. It's gonna get rough. It's gonna get contentious. They're gonna find a way to bring him in. But again, I'm like, Will, the lack of production, the ruckus that you've caused through the door, having to wonder at all about your motor or your motivation or your conviction to the team or wanting to be here in this city or this organization would be just a little bit too much that I'd be willing to deal with for somebody that's never taken a snap for me. But that's just me. So we'll leave it at that. The Bengals have a lot of questions to get answered heading into training camp, and Joe Burrow just wants to play football. He don't want to deal with none of this.
And one last point on the Bengals.
Yeah,
I think Burton gonna be a key piece for him this year.
They talking about he might get. I was reading today. They was talking about he was.
I think Burton gonna be all right this year, man.
Hey, but somebody can pay his rent. about that. I'm not gonna pay that nigga rent so he can be on the field.
Hey, listen, man. He's been a star for the
Yeah,
longest. He
Curtis,
used
I'm
to
with you.
NIL money and people doing stuff for him. He wasn't used to
He
having to pay
wasn't paying
bills,
his
man.
rent, man.
Hey man,
I
He ain't
I
used
got
to
more of
that.
an issue with that than I do anything else that he was accused of doing
He ain't
and
used to that.
falling asleep in team meetings and stuff. All of that was bad too. But it's like, dog, you can't even pay your rent.
Yeah,
He ain't
that's
used to
crazy,
that,
man.
man. Cut him some slack, man. He wasn't used to that,
Crazy.
man.
his mama ain't pay
All
rent.
right.
Huh?
His mama ain't pay rent.
He ain't his mama. He ain't his mama.
His daddy ain't
He
pay
was
rent.
just
So I
he
don't know
was
if his
just
daddy
forgetting
paid
he was just forgetting the days, man. Let him, come on, man.
rent.
He
I
young,
mean, the first of
he a young
the month
kid,
comes.
bro.
The first of the month comes every month, so I don't get it. You got to
Curtis
Hey,
said
get
he
it.
listen.
better produce
Hey,
right out the gates, because if he don't, it's barbecue chicken.
Yeah,
hey,
it
listen,
is.
man.
I'm
Hey,
with it.
listen, man. We all was 21 and 22 once, man. We made our mistakes, man.
Well, you paid your rent at 21.
I mean, I made other mistakes. That was his mistake. I made other mistakes.
What did Pop say on Friday? On the first of the month, rent is due.
You ain't got to worry about catching the dog.
Okay. The talent is there. Nick Saban warned them prior to them drafting
Oh
him
man.
about his off the field stuff. So it wasn't even like he lied. There was a reason why he lasted to the third round. Because you're right, Will. Like, he's got first round talent, and even in the little bits and pieces that you saw last year, like even when they inserted him against the Chiefs, and he ran that go route. It was easy work. It was barbecue chicken. You know,
I don't
but
love him
it's
enough to pay his damn rent.
Brother Tony said too much Bengal love on here. Well, it ain't gonna be a Patriot show. I can tell you
Yeah,
that,
we
brother.
ain't fooling with them. You can go up north with that one.
You
I
a
mean, what do
black.
you want us to do? Say that the Bengals gonna suck? We already said that they should have paid Trey. We
That's what he
said that
wants. That's what he wants to say.
Shamar Stewart situation is we 50-50 on it.
He wants
What
us to
is
talk about the Patriots and to
And
say
how
that
they
they
done got
shouldn't have
all these
re-signed T.
picks.
Higgins.
And how they
That's
got
what
all these
Brother Tony
trades.
wants to say.
Well, him and Nate, the only two people I know that like Boston teams. I don't.
I'm a basketball Celtics fan. So what?
I told you the only
You
thing good to come out of
you
Boston
and
was Drew
You and
And you
Bill
Addition,
keep
Russell,
man.
the
saying
only
Lou
two black
Addition.
men that like the Celtics.
Because that's it, man.
Nah, bro. I told y'all my reason why I like Boston, bro.
You and Bill Russell, the only two black men that like the Celtics.
No, Bill Russell didn't even like Boston. So
I was
that
going to
lets you
say
know
he
something
didn't
right
even
there.
like it because they broke into that man's house and smeared you
Yeah,
know what on the wall
yeah.
after he won championships for him.
Won
So that ought
multiple
to tell you
championships.
about
They putting
Boston,
doo-doo on his
and you
wall.
root for him. But
No,
anyway,
I root for the Celtics, not the city of Boston.
all right. So moving on to basketball, there has been a compelling NBA Finals from the highlights that I've watched and that people have told me. Again, I'm a little bit bitter with my New York Knicks being uh, knocked out, and there's no entertainment value for Thunder Pacers. I'm sorry, unless you
It's
live
been
in
a great
Indiana
series, actually.
or OKC. Okay,
Hold on.
He's still
I felt
upset.
I felt the same way until I watched the games.
Told you. We just
I
told him
felt the
that.
same way. I felt the same way until I watched the games. This
Mhm.
is a real good NBA Finals. It's a real good series. It's good basketball being played. It ain't on the refs. The players are going out there playing and competing at a real high level. I've been highly impressed with
Hmm.
both teams. Been highly impressed with both teams. I felt like
Do you
both.
think Indy wins the next game?
Well, Halliburton is out.
No, that ain't been confirmed yet.
The
He
way
got a
he was
calf
limping
strain.
off that
He got a
podium,
calf strain. It's
I'd be
over.
He do. He
surprised.
do got a calf strain, but he
It's
gonna
over.
play.
It's over. What they should have did, in my opinion, is didn't play. Don't play
He
him in
shouldn't have
that
played
second.
the second half.
Yeah.
He
And I
shouldn't have
think
played
they
the
should
second
have
half.
gave him some rest, but I understand they may not have wanted it to tighten up or whatever the case may be. But
The most exciting thing is going to be whether Reggie Miller and Mike Epps show up at the game.
See, that's because you don't watch. You ain't
That's
watched the
because you ain't
damn
watched it,
game.
and you
That's the only
don't.
reason. You
Yeah.
still bitter and mad about the Knicks not being there.
Nobody wants
It's
to
another
watch
thing.
the Pacers and the Thunder. I'm
No,
sorry.
I wanted the Knicks to be there, but once the Knicks lost game one, it was over.
At the end of the day, for all those owners like Mark Cuban and Dan Gilbert who bitched and whined at the CBA back in 2011 after the Big Three and all of that, and wanted everything changed to the fact now where we had a damn Milwaukee Bucks winning their first championship since 1971 a few years ago because they wanted all the small market teams went. That's fine. But you can't tell me the league office is happy about this. I don't care what y'all
It's a
say.
good
Like
finals, Al. You just sat up here and
the,
admitted and said you have not watched the game. You
I have
said
No,
not
that. You
watched a
can't go
full
based
game.
off of highlights, bro.
I've
so
not
from
watched a full game.
a
Right. You haven't watched the
marketing,
full game. You said that.
but
If they
see,
were in Seattle still, it might be exciting.
but this is where the NBA is
Look at
wrong.
Nate.
This is where the NBA is wrong and they're lazy because they need to do a better job with marketing the NBA finals and promoting it and all of those
I
things like
agree with
that.
that.
Yeah, they
They
need to put the
haven't done
decal
it.
back on the floor because I'm
It
tired of this only putting it on the pad on the basket. When did that shit start?
and
Everybody's scared of Paul George slipping, so they don't want to put patches on the floor no more. And I thought that was part of the nostalgia of the playoffs. When you cut it on seeing that on the court. But go ahead with it.
but even when you listen to sports talk shows and different things like that, they're not giving the finals 40 and 50 minutes of talk time like they've done in the past.
Nope.
The A block is like 10 minutes and then they go on to talk about football. I just feel like they've done a horrible job with it. Like, even if it's not two marketable teams or they don't have a highly recognizable player, this is when you have to get creative. This is when you have to do certain things in um
They did do that
order to
last game.
build the
You realize
excitement.
they did the announcements.
Well, you got the damn NBA MVP in the finals, and like you said, Will, they're not doing a good enough job
Yes.
to even market that.
And it might not be any marketable players in here, but I feel like you gotta hype, you gotta start making up something, like you gotta start doing something to build some type of suspense for the NBA finals. And it's actually been a good
Tony, see,
finals though.
Tony tried to be
Yeah,
funny.
basketball wise, it's been amazing. It's been
Look,
an amazing
Yeah.
finals basketball wise.
I'm not
Promotion
spending no
wise and
time.
marketing wise, it has not been the best. I
I'm
will
not
agree with that.
spending no time, and I agree, but I'm not spending no time talking about Mr. Dolan because, again,
You
you
can't.
know, he will kick my ass out of Madison Square Garden if you show. He's been known for finding fans that talk about him on social media and stuff and kicking him.
Yeah.
If he'll kick Charles Oakley out of the arena, he'll kick a regular fan out and revoke their season tickets in a heartbeat. But also because when the man owns Madison Square Garden as well, like there's nothing to talk about. He ain't going nowhere. Knicks fans had to accept that. Um, it's gonna be a tough job to fill with people seeing that your team just made it to the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time in 25 years,
I think
and you
Mike
got
Brown gets that job.
fired. You got
Mike Brown did what
fired for
job?
making it.
He gets that Nick job.
He's thinking that Mike Brown's gonna get the Knicks job.
Who? They ain't gonna get Mark, so
No, the Nuggets old coach.
Malone.
Yep.
Mike Malone.
That would be a huge mistake if they do that.
Yeah, I don't think they
I
should
mean
go
the
to
mistake was firing Tibbs.
Fire and Tibbs, yeah, for sure.
What you do is you
But
sit him down, and you tell him to hire an offensive coordinator and figure out how to and get the offense better. The defense was amazing. Tibbs gonna
even
get
if
him to
you
play
do that,
defense.
though, even if you do that, you still have to talk to him about how to play more than 6 or 7 man rotations.
I
No,
think Tibbs going to Denver
I was
too.
about to get to that next point. That would be my next point. And for him to utilize his bench. Because to me, I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty sure you all talked about it, but game one was lost when they put Jalen Brunson back in the game.
Yeah, for sure.
And they put Jalen Brunson Brunson in the game, and they took out McBride, which made him easier to cover. And McBride was playing great.
Yeah, he had a good
Deuce
game.
was playing great, but see, here's catch-22 because you still need Jalen Brunson on the court because he is your best player. And
He's a
yes, he
closer.
becomes a liability on the other end of the court, which teams were finding out. But I can take it back further than that I've mentioned on this program if we go back in the past. I was the one that wanted the Knicks to draft Halliburton instead of Obi Toppin. He was there. I wanted that. But the ball had already been set in motion, especially with Rick Brunson being on the staff and having some influence. Like they were going to sign Jalen Brunson.
The thing is with that draft, Obi was like one of the top prospects in the country. It was a COVID year, so
he was the Shamar Stewart of the draft.
But it made sense because again, this is prior.
He was going to win Player of the Year.
But this is prior to free agency, so you did not have a point guard at the time.
No, for sure.
They hadn't signed Jalen Brunson yet.
I feel like the Knicks don't need to make no changes to personnel.
Nope.
I feel like this was lost. I feel like the Knicks lost because of coaching.
Mm-hmm.
But TF still shouldn't have been fired. It's not it's not bad to get out coached by Rick Carlisle.
Yeah,
he's one of the best coaches to ever coach in the NBA. Dude is a great coach.
Yeah, he's got a ring too.
That part is true. And again, I just don't understand how you justify firing somebody that made it to the Eastern Conference Finals when your organization has not done that in 25 years. The only other scenario that I can think of where this happened is back in 1989 when the Chicago Bulls fired Doug Collins after making it to the Eastern Conference Finals and promoted Phil Jackson. Now, that worked out, as we can all agree. And I don't see a Phil Jackson coming through the door to save the New York Knicks. He couldn't even do that as president of basketball operations. Because
he ain't had Jordan or Kobe or Shaq.
No, he didn't have that.
That's a different argument for a different day.
Yeah, that's another. We don't need to go there.
That's a different argument for a different day.
All of those teams had those players that you just mentioned prior to Phil being head coach and didn't win. So, don't really hold too much water.
Touche. I said that's an argument for a different day.
Well,
and talking like that, I hope y'all get Doc Rivers.
In fact, in 1998, when the Lakers won 60,
did Doc get fired?
But
he didn't get fired.
If he become the Knicks coach, you're going to seriously dislike me.
Hey, he gonna block you.
Doc knows.
I'm gonna skip that next point that I was getting ready to make.
Doc knows to take a little dollar on top of everything.
Now, anyway,
and Dr. Fez, Doc gonna snitch and get that job. He gonna hate us.
Y'all giving Doc Rivers too much time on here. You know how the girls started playing one-on-one basketball last summer, and I thought that was very entertaining. Some of the WNBA players were playing one-on-one. I recently saw Born Ready, Make 'Em Dance Lance playing Michael Beasley, and I was laughing because Lance did what he normally does out there on the court. So it was a question that I asked you guys in group chat. If there was one-on-one matchup, past or present, NBA players that you could pick to watch two guys play one-on-one, who would it be?
Prime Jordan, prime Kobe.
That's a good one.
Nate?
I would have went with Allen Iverson and Ant-Man.
Hey, John?
I'm going to go prime
Sergio Sabalos versus James Worthy. He gonna say something.
This nigga, first of all, you never heard me say no shit like that. Number two, because you let me finish, I was going to say prime Melo, prime Rasheed
Hey,
Wallace.
Sergio Sabalos couldn't even dribble, bro.
I'm sorry, who you say?
I said Melo and Rasheed Wallace.
What?
What's wrong with that?
That's just as bad as yours. AI versus
It
Ant-Man.
is. It is.
How? They both can. Well, never mind. Y'all got it.
Ant-Man too big. Pause.
Yeah.
They got a small guard. I would have probably watched
What?
AI
What?
versus Ray Allen
He
though.
too
Be
what?
careful,
Even though they
Nate.
battled in
Be
college.
careful, Nate.
He
You
too what?
too
Ant-Man too
what?
what?
Huh?
Ant-Man too what?
I said pause. What do you mean? I caught myself.
But bro, hold on. But what's wrong? What's wrong with Melo and Wallace?
No, they didn't play.
I mean, I'm just
I
asking.
would rather see like Rasheed Wallace, KG. I would like to
Yeah.
see. I like to see.
Okay, well, let me go. I would like to see Prime Kobe versus Prime T Mac.
Yeah, that would have been a good one too.
A lot of people wanted to see that anyway, so
No, AI versus Kyrie. My bad. That's what I was thinking of.
that would be nice.
that would be a good one.
That
AI
would be
versus
nice.
That
Kyrie.
would be a
Yeah.
good one, man. That would be a good one, man.
I had to think about it. My bad.
I
There's
like
some
that
other ones,
one.
man. Like
Yeah, it is.
I would love to see I would love to see like a Gilbert Arenas versus Anthony Edwards.
Mm-hmm.
I think that'd be a good one.
Yeah.
Trying to think of it.
Shaq versus Rudy Gobert.
Why? For what?
Now you playing
I'm
too
talking.
much, bro. Now you playing way
I
too
was,
much.
I was about to say,
You playing way too much. That's just diabolical. You trying to
could
get him
any
killed.
let me okay, so let's talk about the guys in the post. Could anybody beat the Dream 1-on-1?
Timmy might give him issues. Timmy might give him issues.
Tim and Akeem would be a good one.
Yeah.
That might be it.
Yeah. Because Shaq just was so dominant.
But Prime
Shaq will
Dream
have to.
was
Yeah, Shaq will have to guard from the free throw
Yeah.
line down, and
Yep.
Akeem had
that
the
dream
whole
shape.
the whole
That dream
arsenal. Like
shape.
I mean,
Akeem had the whole
we
arsenal.
seen
So
what
Yeah.
he did.
He
We
had a
seen what he did.
15-footer, a 10-footer.
We seen what he did to
Post
young
work.
Shaq. But does he do that to Lakers Shaq?
I don't know if you do that to Lakers Shaq
I
though.
don't
Like
We
know.
that.
seen what he. Now that's what I'm saying. You got to pick which Shaq. We know what he did to young Shaq, but he ain't doing that to Lakers Shaq.
Will we consider Lakers Shaq prime Shaq?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I'm just making sure.
Before
I know
we get
Shaq is young. You know, he still was a dog, but he was young.
to the last two topics that I wanted to get when we get out of here. So I wanted to make sure we had some, although this will piss some people off. We are getting close to training camp in professional football. We'll get to summer camp for college football in a little bit as well. So I would be remiss if I didn't bring up the defending national champion Ohio State Buckeyes. I've seen a lot of posts kind of trying to reset the bar and make prognostications on what the outlook is going to be this year. I'm going to start with Big John. I don't know what happened to Will just now. I'm going to start with Big John. What are your top concerns if you were a Buckeye fan,
He
on
coming
the
right there.
staff? What would be your top concern going into this year for the Buckeyes?
Quarterback play number one. Who's going to be y'all starting quarterback?
Dylan Sand is going to be the starting quarterback by most publications, the number one overall ranked quarterback in the 2024 recruiting class. Did his freshman year at Alabama, left after Nick Saban retired and transferred to Ohio State.
Okay. Do you think he a good fit? Do you think he's ready?
I don't know because I'm gonna say the
Ain't
same
no
thing
film.
when Justin Fields transferred here. I don't have enough evidence, and we won't know until the lights are bright
Right.
and we start.
It would
Um,
be. It would, like I said, it would be quarterback play because, like you said, you have a young guy that doesn't have any collegiate film yet. Yeah, he was probably one of the top recruits in this class. That would be the first thing. Um, I've always, even though they got tremendously better, um, defense will probably be my other second objective because y'all know y'all gonna put points on the board. That's a given.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with that young man at receiver, running back. My third biggest will probably be the offensive line just because y'all had so many injuries last year. Y'all had to mix and match certain offensive lines. So is that going to get better? So those will be my top three.
for me, the biggest question mark, like you just mentioned, is Dylan saying, because just because you were number one ranked quarterback coming out of high school does not necessarily mean that it's going to translate
Mm-hmm.
to college. But that's a given because every team is going to be a prisoner of their quarterback play, as far as how far they go. I think my biggest concern is you have 14 players drafted. Even at a school like Ohio State where you don't rebuild, you reload, that's still a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That's still a lot to replace. And you got a new defensive coordinator, Matt Patricia, coming aboard. That transition from pro back to college doesn't always work, and we've yet to really see how good a coach Matt Patricia really is when he's not flanked by Bill Belichick
Right.
standing next to him.
Yeah.
So that would be my biggest concern for the Buckeyes heading into college football season this year. But that, and also, hey, you got your boy Big John, game one. Arch Manning is going to invade
Yeah. So
the
Ohio
state
State versus
capitol
Tennessee.
versus Texas. We get to see the bloodline now.
Yeah, we're gonna see.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
think
Arch
I think
Manning
the
cold, bro.
quarterback
No,
is
I
gonna
think
be
he. I
the
think he gonna
quarterback
be. I
thing is
think he
gonna be
gonna be
filthy.
straight. But I also want to see him against better talent. I mean, he played some decent games, but when he did get in, but it wasn't against anybody I was scared of.
Well, I think that's baptism through fire, and opening the season against Ohio State in the Ohio Stadium against
Oh, we
108,000 people.
gonna see.
We'll
We
get
gonna
to see
see.
the great Arch Manning. Peyton Manning gonna be there.
The whole
Will be
family
there.
gonna be there.
The whole family gonna be there.
Did y'all see the sheriff when he was here for mandatory minicamp?
Mm-hmm.
I see.
He came.
I seen he was downtown.
I don't hear
Yeah. So we did get a little Buckeye talking. So I want to end with something. I don't know if you were ever on one of our episodes where we talked a little bit of music and we're ranking our top 10. I think one episode we did our top 5 hip hop artists. Another episode we did 5 through 10, and that's usually where people stop at.
Mm-hmm.
So I made it a point. I said, well, now I want y'all to think about 11 through 15. And it's been a while since we even, touched on that or even had any music as part of an episode. So that's where I want to start. I want to know who 11, 15 through 15 are your greatest hip hop artists of all time.
Okay. Who going
We already
first?
did ours. I don't even remember. That was a minute ago.
We didn't
Yeah,
do
that's
11
tough
through
because you'll have
15
to
on the
see who in
show.
your top 10.
Well, I mean, I remember my top 10, but
Yeah, my top 10 has. I realized to pick out your top 10 as far as hip hop artists is almost an impossible because there's so many rappers who has an argument on why they should be top 10.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough. It's tough. It's tough.
Just
I think I got my 11 through
And
15.
it also depends on the criteria.
Yeah.
well, now see, I'm gonna steal that from DJ EFN. It's whatever your criteria is, whatever in your head. I mean, for some people it could be longevity, album sales, commercial success, just flat out. rapping ability, lyricism, connecting with the audience like Pop, whatever. I mean, a combination of all of that. Because my top 10 is always real easy for me. That's why I really don't even want to recount it. But like, especially my top five never
Yeah, ain't
changes.
gonna change. Yeah.
So
That's
I mean,
tough, man.
it's always. I'll do my
Mm.
5. I don't want to do the whole 10. I wanted to stick to the 11 through
Yeah, I got
15.
my 11 through 15. I got that.
But my top 5 is always Pac, Big, Jay, Ice Cube at 4, and Nas at 5, with Snoop Dogg knocking on the door at 6.
I can't argue. How many classic albums Snoop Dogg got though?
5, 4,
Huh?
4. No,
What?
wait. Let me go down.
3.
Hold on. Hold on. I'm getting my numbers wrong.
Y'all nice.
Doggy Style. Dogfather wasn't that good.
It's Snoop though, man.
The one with No Limit was
That
good.
first one with No Limit with the Rottweilers on the
Yeah, that was good. Beware the Dog or something like that.
Hold on. The game is to be sold, not told.
yeah.
That was the first one with No
That
Limit.
was the first one with No Limit. The second one.
The second one was I want to say Top Dog.
I think that was Top Dog. Top Dog was good because they had Wolf on it.
See, my favorite album from Snoop is The Last Meal. That was his last album on No Limit.
Yeah, No Limit. Yeah, I remember that one.
But I don't know, man. Like I believe
like the R and R&B, the rhythm and the gangster one. I like that album though.
Instead of Aston, I mean, I guess
That was a transition album for him.
Since we didn't have Will on there for the top 5.
My bad for changing
the
You good? I was trying to, you just had my brain working for real.
You said what, Big John? Since we didn't,
I said because Will wasn't on the previous shows, I think just let him do the top 5, or we just reiterate our top 5. Because doing 11 through 15 when you haven't did your 10 will be kind of.
All right, well, go ahead, Will. Who are your top 5 hip hop artists?
Woo.
Now you got to be able to do that.
This is no order. This is the top 5. Hov, Big, Pop, LL, Ooh. Nas.
And I love Todd Smith. Pause. That's LL Cool J for those that don't know. But I gotta ask you the same question that you just asked about Snoop in that instance. And LL is in my top 10, but I have to ask you, how many classic albums has LL had?
I want to say Mr. Smith. What is it? Walking with a Panther.
Mama Said Knock You Out.
I give them those two as far as the ones that I believe that are classic. I put LL in my top 5 because at 60 years old, he is still rapping at a high esteem level at 60. And that can't.
The longevity is part of it, but that's why I put Snoop at number 6, partly too, though.
No. I agree. Snoop is in my top 10. He's definitely in my top 10. Snoop, Eminem, Jadakiss. Those are my top 8. 9 and 10. It's tough. Some people put Andre 3000. It's tough for me to put Andre 3000 because he doesn't have a solo rap album.
Yeah, Love Below was not a solo.
What about Clifford Harris?
If we was doing my favorite, he top 5. Easily top 5. But if I'm being unbiased, T.I. for me would be in that 15 through 25 range.
But
I believe that his heart and passion isn't into music. That's why his last couple of albums haven't been
They've been
as great
bad.
as they could be. I do believe, like, if he really locked himself into a studio like he did with Paper Trail, yeah, all he had to do was focus on music, he could put out another classic album.
What about Earl?
So I'm saying it's tough because DMX first 3 albums, like,
Yeah,
that
look
was
at y'all.
that
you
was
already know my
the
DMX story. I'm probably one of the biggest DMX fans in the world till I heard Great Depression, and that
and got depressed.
pissed me off.
And got depressed.
Got real
Like you
depressed
said,
on
those
that.
first 3 albums, classic, no argument. Ever since he made the Great Depression, his life was downhill.
Who we be?
Hey.
Like, and I will never forget because I went out and bought Great Depression and what was that? The Ludacris album, Chicken and Beer. I went out and bought both of them. Listened to the Great Depression. I was so pissed. I was so mad.
Mm-hmm.
And I am a Rough Rider DMX guy. That was very disappointing.
That was the only album I just could not listen to from DMX.
Is Curtis Jackson top 20?
Not in mine.
Nah.
He ain't in my top 20.
Nah. I wanna say yeah, but nah. But like you said, it's about whatever your criteria is. Like my, I got Kiss and Styles as my 5, so this is about whatever criteria that you have. But
now you got some good theme songs like Raising Canaan and Power, but
I mean 50. You can argue 50 got one of the greatest rap albums ever.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And that puts his slider up. That puts it.
He has the greatest freshman rap album ever. His very first album probably is
Oh no, Jeezy was there.
No.
Jeezy was there too.
It's up there.
Well, who got the best first album?
Doggy Style, bro.
Doggy Style for sure.
Doggy Style, bro. Doggy Style.
It's my opinion. I would rather listen to Get Rich or Die Trying over that.
That's not better than
That's your opinion.
Thug Motivation was up there.
But Doggy Style is the greatest. The greatest sophomore album ever. And I don't think we can debate this.
I mean, I'm not asking Al because I know how Al feels about that album. Are y'all saying that? Y'all two are saying that because everybody else thinks that, or y'all actually think that?
What, Doggy Style
was a great album.
I'm not saying it wasn't a great album. I'm saying
no.
album ever.
Yeah.
Are y'all saying that because usually people say that, or y'all actually believe it?
I believe that. You know me, I don't.
Okay.
You know.
Right.
Bro, that's the only reason Death Row jumped to the next level, bro.
I used to go to war with people over Nelly, so you know I don't care what the masters say.
And this is just my opinion. And we talking about first albums, freshman albums. I would rather listen to Get Rich or Die Trying to Illmatic over that.
Oh, Illmatic could go into. I give you.
Illmatic.
I mean, any of those. And my sleeper for one of the greatest debut albums ever is Philadelphia Freeway.
Oh, that was a good one.
It really was. It don't get enough pub.
Yeah, that was a good one.
But that's because it can't. You know what? It's like the 2000 dunk contest. Like nobody remembers what happened after Vince Carter.
Yeah,
Steve Francis was doing some live dunks. His dunks were amazing. It was just after Vince Carter. So Philadelphia Freeway came out right after Get Rich or Die Trying in 03. You wasn't gonna get no pub, but
wasn't no pub.
Get Rich or Die. I mean, Philadelphia Freeway was an amazing album to me. It doesn't get enough.
And I'm saying that, and I love Snoop. I'm just saying I would prefer listening to those 2 albums over that.
Some people
was crazy.
Some people say the Chronic album was better than Doggy Style.
Nah, they tripping. I think Chronic might be the most.
We had a long conversation.
Don't say what I think you get ready to say because the Chronic album.
Now, maybe I should have asked that question that I asked about that album.
Set the table for Doggy Style.
For sure.
Yeah, it did.
It definitely did. It definitely did.
That was the rise of LA, bro.
It definitely did. It definitely did. But it did age bad. The Chronic might got 4 songs right now that you will still listen to.
That's a fact.
What average person?
No, you.
No, you
Nah.
listen.
The West Coast people. West
Al-
Coast people will feel the same way.
Tell
Al
him,
stuck
John.
in 1989. He ain't. Nah, you talked wrong.
I still listen to the Chronic album.
You an old fart.
I ain't mad at you. The Chronic got some hits, but the Chronic kind of it didn't
And
age.
I ain't even
But okay,
talking about the bangers that everybody talk about. Lil Ghetto Boy,
but you
These Nuts.
but you know what?
All them
But
tracks.
but for that time period, the Chronic was it. So I can't take that away from the Chronic. But as I look and as I look back, I look
with Bushwick Bill, R.I.P. Bushwick Bill.
I like how things age. Like that lets me know how great an album was. So I don't think the Chronic aged the best for me, but like Get Rich or Die Trying, Doggy Style, Illmatic. I feel like all of those albums age
All of
great.
these are great that we're talking about because, like you
Yeah.
said, some won't, age as well. I still like Reasonable Doubt. I like Ready to Die. Excuse me. These are albums that are going to remain classic, but some of them age better. I mean, a lot of people don't talk about America's Most Wanted.
Yeah, it's true.
Ice Cube's
Yeah.
first album was dope.
You just brought up Ready to Die. That just made me think about that was
that would probably be
that's one of the top 2
for me.
What y'all say?
Ready to Die, Biggie.
What about it?
Of course, being like the best freshman
one
album.
of the fresh albums.
It's still
that's
top
up
10.
there. Yeah, that's still
I mean, we got hip hop classics off of that.
So you
first album.
you really just go turn your head and you always say Biggie is your favorite rapper. Don't do that.
He is. I'm not biased.
Don't do that.
Ready to Die shouldn't be spoken in the same light with those debut albums that we just
Why
named.
not?
What?
Why not? We can name multiple songs. You said the Chronic got
Juicy.
4.
Hold on, Juicy, Warning.
Give me the
Big
loop.
Papa.
Give me the loop.
Okay.
One more chance.
Hold on. So give me the loop.
Listen to what we just said.
Here you go, man.
Juicy, Warning. Juicy, Warning.
Big Papa, One More Chance. I still think Everyday Struggle is one of Big's most underrated songs. I was
trying to think of the name of it. Yeah.
That shit was phenomenal. Give me the loop.
And Ready to Die was live.
All right, so listen.
Me
saying what I'm saying.
You can't say the word, but no. That wasn't a good one.
Me saying this is not me saying that the album was bad, because me and John had this argument before. I'm not saying that the album is bad. It's not a bad album. It's a good album. It's not one of the.
But
it's a lot of debut albums. It's a lot of debut albums that may have not, that may not have the impact that Biggie first album had, but it's better.
I don't know. There was some really good production on that album with Easy Mo B and Lord Finesse, and
I agree.
People claim that he don't do Diddy, as a producer on there. I agree. But you just said Juicy and Warning, and when I said the other two, which are absolute gold certified hip hop, platinum classics, I was just saying gold as far as the era. I said One More Chance and Big Papa, and you rolled your eyes and looked away.
No. I looked away before that. I give you those songs. Like I like Everyday Struggle. I like those songs. I really like. I'm a true Biggie fan. Biggie is mine. I
know, because we used to connect on that when everybody was talking about Pac back in the day.
Yeah, like Biggie is my guy. Biggie is my guy, but
I said One More Chance. I said One More Chance and Big Papa, and you just like look.
He
Wait,
did that when I said give
Like
me
he,
like
like he was
give
mad.
like they
he stole
don't still
commercial
play
music.
those songs everywhere, including
They
other.
do.
They
They
still play
do.
it in the club,
They
bro.
do. They do. They absolutely do. But that's why I said I had to check my tone because it makes it look like I'm saying that the album is whack, and I'm not saying that at all. It's rappers who couldn't fathom to create a Ready to Die. Like it, I truly get it and understand that. But it's like compared to a lot of other first albums, it's not that high to me. And then compared to Life After Death, it's like, yeah, this
See, Life After
See, that's
Death
the
was a
thing.
double
Like
disc. Like it was so many. Like I mean, you
Yeah,
can
they had
name
a lot
multiple
of.
songs.
you
Life
can
After
do
Death
this
is
one
classic.
or this two, and they both are phenomenal.
Life After Death is classic.
I
But
kind of say that Life After Death is the greatest rap album ever.
I still prefer Ready to Die over Life After Death. I really do.
Oh yeah, boy. Whatever you sipping on, man, make sure next time we chill, man. Make sure you
It's
pass me
water,
some of that,
man.
brother. Whatever water that
I
is,
can't drink nothing else right now because they
whatever
trying to.
water that is.
The devil's a lie trying to say I'm diabetic when I'm not. But
Well, listen here, brother. Whatever water that is, save me a cup.
I guess
But as
I
far,
just felt ready to die more than I did Life After
I
Death.
understand.
Man.
I can understand that. I can understand that.
Like even Big himself said, like, yo, Puff wants to go more club this album. And I guess that's kind of how I view Life After Death. It was more so big in the transition where he was going. It was sort of that mafioso rap, type deal. And I don't want to talk down on it
Sky's
because
the limit
it's
on there. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but it's like I
As a
said,
limit, notorious thug,
you
more
compare it,
money, more problem.
and like I
Story
said,
to
Yeah, they had the whole
tell,
it's
list. Yeah,
still one of
yeah,
my
yeah.
top first fresh
Missing
albums.
you.
But you
Hey,
compare that
story
listen.
to
to a double
tell,
disc.
all of it.
Yeah,
Book,
that's what
Book
I'm
of
gonna
the
work out to
Finest.
tomorrow.
You got
I'm gonna work out the Life After Death tomorrow, man.
What? You go work out to some rap music?
yeah, freaky ass nigga always working it out to blow and shit.
No, I honestly,
Freaky ass nigga. He always lift weights to 112 and shit. Nobody trying to do that shit, man. And I work
I
out with
like.
nigga. I'm
You know
tired of
what
that
my
shit.
cut is? Not. I mean, excluding
Nigga wanna
hypnotized.
work
Oh
out to
man.
work out to the OJs. Nigga, I don't want to do that shit.
Excluding hypnotized, which is what it is. I like my downfall with DMC.
Yeah,
That's my cutoff. Life After Death. He
Oh
say
man.
my
faith.
favorite song off of Life After Death is either Missing You or Story to Tell.
John's big brother Calvin. He likes The World Is Filled with Too
Oh
Short
yeah.
called
Or
Common.
I'm choking too
Yeah,
short.
but
I ain't gonna
Cal
lie,
always
sky's
like
the limit. I
them
don't know,
weird
something about
songs.
that beat I liked about Sky's the limit.
R.I.P.
Think,
DJ
John, I
Clark
think
Kent.
your favorite song on there is the song with him and R. Kelly, right?
See, here you go. Here you go. No, not.
Yes, it is, Big John.
No, my favorite two songs on that album is Last Days and Niggas Bleed Just Like Us. Those are my two favorite songs.
Woo! Yeah, cause that went straight into Story to Tell. Yep.
So it would be Last Days with the Locks for obvious reasons, and Niggas Bleed Just Like Us. It's my two favorite songs.
More money, more problems. Sometimes I forget that that's a big song. Honestly,
Mm-hmm.
I got a question, and then I gotta go and get ready for the gym. What was the better album? Jeezy's The Recession or T.I.'s Urban Legend?
Urban Legend.
Urban Legend.
Recession,
Urban
don't get me
Legend,
wrong.
hands
Recession
down.
Y'all
was
y'all
Jeezy's
homework
second
tonight.
best album.
Y'all homework tonight is to go back and listen to the Recession.
No. And the only reason why I say that
I just was listening to it like 2 days ago.
I listen to Jeezy more now as an adult than I did back then, so that's why mine would be Urban Legend. So, but
Urban Legend.
Urban Legend was a front to back album. Like Jeezy's
So was the
first
Recession.
Jeezy's
So was the
first
Recession.
album was
Heart
better
of a
than
lion
Recession.
and the of a bear. I'm the king of the jungle. You can follow me there.
I agree.
T.I. was talking some
Look, I
realness on
agree.
that.
Urban Legend to me, because I was having this debate earlier, and at first I said the Recession was the better album, but then I went back and I said, nah, Urban Legend might got him by one song, but it's close.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. No, I ain't disagreeing with that. It is close.
I'm just saying emphatically, in my opinion.
Metaphorically, T.I. was running amok at that
Stuff
time.
he was saying.
Yeah, he was running amok at that
time.
time.
So ladies and gentlemen,
was crazy.
Ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank you for everybody who tuned in, subscribe. All the views count. We appreciate it. Make sure if you can't watch the live feed video, which will remain on YouTube and Facebook for 30 days, since they want to delete everything after 30 days now, that the audio is available on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Amazon Music. I want to thank Brother Will Johnson for stopping through. Anybody got anything else you want to add before we get up out?
I ain't got nothing today.
All right, well, we'll sign out. Everybody, again, appreciate you for stopping through. We'll try and do it better next time.
Yes, sir.
Sure.